okay, you see this cadaver,
Right.
you have this experience, and you say, listen, I know that this is not for me. Like medical school,
Right.
So your professor, I think this is so interesting, and I think that's pretty awesome. He told you to combine what you love to do, just generally like what you love to do. He didn't say a particular career. He just said combine what you love to do with science.
Right.
That's an interesting concept. I have never heard it put that way, but I think it's so cool. And so you said, okay, well, I do like putting on makeup. I love
Right.
that. And I don't think we think about this every day. I don't know about you, but like when I put on makeup, I don't think, oh, this like science goes into this. Like there's actually chemicals and those different type of things that go into creating makeup. So you decided to take the makeup and mix that with the science, as he said, and that drove you to want to go into pharmacy. So how did you come to the conclusion though? Break that down a little bit. You said that did you say cosmetology falls under pharmacy, or did you say it requires it?
So perfect. So I started to research cosmetic science programs, and it's essentially the study of how these different products are made. So in my research, I found that cosmetics are not only makeup, but it's also anything that you put on your body that can alter it. So anything from toothpaste to obviously makeup to deodorant. So science goes into making sure that all of these things are safe and effective for humans to use. So I was like, wow, this is so awesome. Like, but once I started doing more research, I realized it's a lot of chemistry. It's a lot of quality that goes into it. So quality assurance and analytics to determine what exactly means that it's safe. So honestly, cosmetic science, all of these programs fall under, or most of them fall under pharmacy programs. So you can pursue a
Got it.
master's in cosmetic science, but it's going to be within the walls of a pharmacy school.
Interesting. I did not know that. I did not know that.
Right.
See, guys, this is why I say pharmacy is so broad. It's so broad,
Mm-hmm.
but it makes a lot of sense because when I think about it, um, some of the bigger pharmaceutical companies that we hear about all the time, like Johnson Johnson, that's one of my favorite ones. They
Right.
do the baby powder, but they also do like actual medications. They do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
items that people don't know about, and that's pretty interesting. So, like, would you, and on your path that you're doing now, so you're in pharmacy school,
Mm-hmm.
would you say that you would go work for a company like that, or would you work for like more retail pharmacy? Like, what is your path in your mind?
Right. So it took me a long time to get to what I want to do in pharmacy. Initially, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to pharmacy school. I am going to get a certificate in cosmetic science and then work for an industry company and figure out
Mm-hmm.
how I can combine pharmacy with cosmetics. Cool. So I get in pharmacy school and I realize, wow, I really want to impact people's lives and not just how pretty they look or how they smell. So I wanted my career to impact the way that people live their life. And I realized that cosmetic science just wasn't for me, like beyond the chemistry, just
Wow.
the idea that I'm getting all this education to make sure that people look pretty. And I was like, no, that's not it. So I ended up doing an internship with this company called Pharmacy Quality Solutions. And ultimately, the internship introduced me to the idea of managed care pharmacy. And it's essentially where you can use different clinical programs to impact population health versus a single patient at one time. So, with that, my ultimate career goal is to pursue a career in managed care. I'm not sure which company, I'm not sure what exact area in managed care, but I do know that I want to impact population health in pharmacy and not just have individual patient encounters.
Wow, that's interesting. So, man, you slammed down a lot of different opportunities. Like you're
Right.
like cadaver, no,
No.
no medical school. Okay, I like the makeup. No, not doing that. So now you've arrived at this point. One common thing that I would like our audience to notice, and one of the common things that I notice is you got your feet wet. Like you're not
Mhm.
afraid to get into the field and see if you like it or not. I think that's really, really cool because that's something that I always advise students to do. If you're not, that's what I did. That's how I found out that I didn't want to be a pharmacist.
Mhm.
I got into the pharmacy and retail in particular. And if you know anything about retail, it can be pretty tough sometimes.
Right.
So once I got into that, I was like, this is definitely not what I want to do. While I commend all of our pharmacists, I think they're wonderful. It takes a special type of person to do that, and a lot of people look at the job because of money,
Mhm.
but like there's a lot that goes into doing that, and
Mhm.
plus the schooling, I'm sure, as you know, which I want to get into that with you too. But I think that's pretty cool. So you decided you wanted to go into managed care.
Mhm.
So can you describe to myself and the audience, what does that consist of on a day-to-day basis? Like, what does that look like?
Okay, so I'm still learning too, but
Yeah.
ultimately, managed care, the overall goal is to improve the health and safety of a population while also making sure that we keep costs at bay. So
Wow.
the day to day of a managed care pharmacist can be very different depending on where you work. So I have
Mhm.
talked to some managed care pharmacists that work at hospitals and managed care pharmacists that work for major payers or insurance companies. And ultimately, the day to day can be very different. But some things that managed care pharmacists can do is formulary development and management. So ultimately, choosing which medications an insurance company will cover, choosing which medications they don't want to cover, but also using evidence based medicine or research trials to determine what's the best practices and the best way to take care of our members or our patients. So it's a lot that managed care pharmacists can do. They can also do like analytics and utilizing different platforms to look at patients on a population level and see, okay, what percentage of patients are doing this, what percentage of patients are doing this, and how can we ultimately have an impact. So it's a huge field. It's a lot that goes into it, but I'm still learning every day.
Cool. Got it. Got it. So what, just for our listeners, like what would be the typical salary for someone who does something like that? Like what does the pay look like?
So honestly, in North Carolina, the salary of pharmacists typically is six figures, but the lower
Mhm.
end of six figures. And honestly, after pharmacy school, I'm probably going to have to pursue a residency program. And here in North Carolina, most residency programs are about 50,000 a year. So my first 1 to 2 years after pharmacy school, I would make around 50,000. But ultimately, most pharmacists in the area make about six figures.
Gotcha. And that's also for the managed care as
Hmm.
well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I got it. Got it. Makes sense. So, okay. So you got your first degree and then you
Hmm.
went to pharmacy school.
Hmm.
Now, what was that first degree in?
So I got a bachelor's of science in biology.
Got it. Okay. So we started with the science, then we went to pharmacy school. And after this, you would do a residency. Can you explain to us what is a residency?
Okay, cool. So before pharmacy school, I didn't know that pharmacists had to do residencies, and it's not mandatory now, but
Okay.
the way that the field is evolving, there are a lot more pharmacy graduates. There is, for lack of a better word, more competition in pharmacy just because there are so many more graduates. So a residency program is an opportunity for you after you graduate pharmacy school to get some postgraduate training. So after you graduate, it gives you more specialized training in what you're interested in. So residency programs can be like in a hospital space if you want to do like general medicine. You can
Mhm.
also specialize in an area with a residency program, say if you want to be an oncology pharmacist. But beyond that, there are some residency programs that are focused in managed care. So residency is just a way for you to get additional training after you graduate.